230 million years ago, when the first ancestors of crocodiles were just appearing on Earth, the world looked nothing like it does today. Since then, our planet has endured so many catastrophes that simply listing them is enough to make your skin crawl. 66 million years ago, an asteroid slammed into the Earth, wiping out the dinosaurs and erasing most of the living creatures of that era from the face of the planet. Then came the ice ages. The continents shifted shape, oceans rose and fell, and entire land masses burned to ash and turned green again. And through all of it, it stayed right where it was, at the very edge of the water, half submerged, almost motionless, as if none of what was happening had anything to do with it. Of all the reptiles older than it, only turtles and one strange creature from a distant island in the ocean, the tuatara, have made it to our day. All the others slipped into oblivion long ago, but it remained. And not just remained, dragging out its days in some forgotten corner of nature. Today, 26 species of crocodiles, alligators, caimans, and gharials live on this planet, and they've spread almost everywhere, except cold Europe and icy Antarctica. We're used to calling it primitive, an ancient, dim-witted, lazy lump of muscle with teeth that just happened to linger on this planet by accident. But if you stop for even a second and think it through calmly, one very uncomfortable question comes up. How did a primitive creature manage to survive what almost nothing else survived? How did the one we consider underdeveloped outrun the mighty dinosaurs and thousands of other species in the great race of survival? Species that seemed far more advanced? And maybe, all this time, we've simply been confusing primitiveness with something else entirely. With true perfection, taken to its absolute limit? To understand this, we first need to figure out who's actually standing in front of us. And here's where the first surprise awaits. A crocodile isn't a lizard at all, as so many people think, and it isn't even a close relative of one. It belongs to an ancient group of animals that scientists call archosaurs, which means that by ancestry, the crocodile stands far closer to birds and to those very dinosaurs than to most ordinary reptiles. When a bird flies overhead, beating its wings above its distant cousin dozing in the warm water, both of them are descendants of the same ancient vanished world. But the most fascinating part is hidden inside. Unlike other reptiles, the crocodile has a cerebral cortex. That very part of the brain we associate with intelligence and complex behavior. And it has a true four-chambered heart, built the same way as in birds and in you and me. It turns out that inside this supposedly primitive creature are solutions that nature usually only reaches in the most advanced animals on the planet. Now let's look at its body, because the body is the real answer to the question of survival. Let's start with the back. Those tough, bony plates that cover the crocodile, we tend to think of them as ordinary armor. In reality, things are far cleverer than that. These plates are laced with a dense network of blood vessels and function as a sophisticated internal tool. When the animal goes without breathing underwater for a long time, acid gradually builds up in its blood, and those very plates help neutralize it, keeping the body from poisoning itself from within. They also serve as a calcium reserve, which is later used to build the strong shells of future eggs. So the armor protects, heals, and helps bring new offspring into the world all at once. Next, the mouth, and several real inventions are hidden inside it. True crocodiles have special salt glands right on their tongues that flush excess salt out of the body. That's exactly why crocodiles can freely venture into the salty sea, while alligators, which lack these glands, can't do the same and stick to fresh water their entire lives. One tiny detail in the mouth decides which of them has an entire ocean open to it and which doesn't. There's another feature that's a little unsettling. A crocodile's teeth don't wear down permanently like ours do. They're replaced in waves throughout its long life, and over all those years, a single animal can wear out and replace up to 8,000 teeth. A broken, lost, or worn tooth is no trouble at all for it. It's a routine, everyday matter, because a new one is already growing in to take the old one's place. Deep inside, the mouth hides yet another marvel of living engineering, a special palatal flap that seals off the throat and keeps water out. Thanks to it, a crocodile can open its jaws wide and grab prey right underwater without choking on a single drop, and its nostrils, eyes, and ears are neatly arranged along a single line on the top of its head. This lets it almost completely vanish into the water while still breathing, seeing, and hearing everything around it. Only a few inconspicuous specks remain on the surface, and anyone swimming past won't even guess that something is lying in wait right beneath them. And finally, the most astonishing thing, the way it submerges. Its four-chambered heart can slow down to just a few beats per minute, as if the animal were slipping into some special sleeping mode. In this state, a crocodile can hold its breath underwater for more than an hour, expending almost no energy at all. It doesn't fight the elements or fuss for no reason. It simply conserves every drop of its energy and waits exactly as long as it needs to. And here, at last, the full picture comes together. Its entire body, from the bony plates on its back to a heart slowed nearly to a standstill, is one big, precise answer to the central question. Minimum cost, maximum result. No wasted motion, no energy squandered for nothing. Nature spent hundreds of millions of years perfecting this survival machine, and we took one quick glance at it and casually tossed off a single word: primitive. We're used to seeing it as a cold, unfeeling killing machine, a creature with no heart, no warmth at all, not a single thought in its head except one: grab and devour. And this is exactly where the biggest reversal in this whole story awaits us, because almost everything we thought about its inner life has turned out to be wrong. Let's start with something absolutely no one expects from it: caring for its own young. When a female crocodile lays her eggs, she doesn't abandon them to fate the way many other reptiles do. She stays nearby and guards the nest. And then something almost unbelievable happens. The unborn babies start to peep softly while they're still inside their eggs, beneath a layer of sand and soil, and the mother hears their call. She carefully digs open the nest, helping the little ones get out, and then takes them into that very mouth everyone fears, and gently carries them to the water. Inside that mouth, capable of crushing bone, the tiny babies ride in complete safety, as if in the most reliable cradle in the world. And there's another astonishing detail here. Whether these babies grow up to be males or females isn't decided by genes, as it is with you and me. Their sex is set by the temperature of the sand in the nest. A little warmer or a little cooler, and entirely different crocodiles come into the world. The nature of the nest itself determines who hatches from those eggs. And within this lies not only a wonder, but also a future tragedy we'll talk about a little later. Now about intelligence, because here too we've been misled time and again. It turns out that some crocodiles can climb trees, hauling themselves several meters up to bask in the sun on a comfortable branch. A creature we considered heavy and clumsy calmly clambers up to places we could never have imagined it reaching, and different individuals turn out to have different personalities. Some are bolder, others more cautious, some more curious, others more reserved, just like people, or like the pets we've long grown accustomed to. And here's a story that truly gives you goosebumps. In Australia, an experiment was once conducted in which a crocodile was taken very far from its home territory, in hopes that it would settle in the new place. But it came back. It covered about 400 kilometers and arrived exactly where it had lived before. It navigated by some kind of inner map that we still can't really explain. Somewhere inside that ancient head lies knowledge of the way home, beyond our understanding, and this knowledge brought it back across hundreds of kilometers of foreign land and water. No less astonishing is the way it communicates. Crocodiles are among the most talkative reptiles on the planet. They have dozens of different sounds at their disposal for every occasion. They produce a low, powerful roar, part of which drops into infrasound that's inaudible to our ears. This roar sends real vibrations rippling across the water, and the surface around a large male literally starts to tremble and leap up in tiny droplets. They can also call back and forth in a full chorus, answering each other across the river, and these exchanges have their own order and their own meaning, which we're only beginning to grasp. Now about hunting, because this is where the ancient hunter shows everything its mind is capable of. A crocodile isn't dumb force, but patience and calculation. It can lie in ambush for hours, waiting for the single right moment, but sometimes it resorts to far more sophisticated techniques. It can shoot straight up like a candle from deep beneath the water, pushing off powerfully with its tail, and snatch prey right out of the air above the river's surface. And several crocodiles can work together, lining up and driving fish in coordination toward the right spot so that each one gets its share. That's no longer the instinct of a loner, but almost real teamwork. But even this isn't what makes it truly important to the entire living world around it. In the dry season, when the water recedes and every living thing is languishing from thirst, alligators use their bodies and paws to dig deep pits in the ground. These pits fill with the last remaining water and turn into tiny oases in the middle of the drying earth. Fish, turtles, birds, and beasts converge on them from all around because there's simply no other water nearby. So it turns out that the predator everyone fears saves dozens of other species from death with its own hands. Its nesting mounds become a refuge for the young of other animals and a place where new plants take root, and its droppings fertilize the water and feed its smallest inhabitants. Without it, this whole living system around it would simply fall apart. It's worth saying something about just how different they can be. The smallest of them, the dwarf crocodile and Cuvier's caiman, grow to only about 1.5 meters, no bigger than a large dog. And the biggest, the saltwater crocodile, exceeds 6 meters in length and weighs about a ton. Among those that lived among people, the record holder is considered to be a huge crocodile named Yai, a cross between a saltwater and a Siamese crocodile, who lived a long life from 1972 to 2025 on a farm in Thailand. Crocodiles also know how to disperse across the ocean in the laziest way possible. They simply surrender to the tidal currents and drift along on them, saving their strength and letting the water carry them to new shores. And all this time, humans have lived alongside it. In ancient Egypt, these animals were revered to such a degree that archaeologists find thousands of crocodile mummies there, carefully preserved for the ages. Later, in the last century, people learned to breed them on special farms. But the most important thing is something else. Entire generations of people lived for centuries on the same banks as these creatures and knew perfectly well the unwritten rules of being neighbors. They knew exactly where and when not to enter the water, and they passed this knowledge down by word of mouth. They didn't wage war with the river. They knew how to come to terms with it. And one simple but stubborn thought runs through this entire section. We judged it by its appearance alone, by its frozen snout and cold stare. And this appearance has been deceiving us for 200 million years straight, hiding behind it a caring parent, a cunning hunter, and an unseen savior of every living thing around. This survival story, stretching across hundreds of millions of years, nearly came to an end in a single instant. And the ones to blame for it weren't an asteroid, weren't a glacier, weren't the extinction of the dinosaurs. We were to blame. In the middle of the last century, a real slaughter began. For the sake of beautiful skin used to make bags, belts, and shoes, crocodiles were killed by the millions. They were slain everywhere, without count and without mercy. and it seemed that the ancient creature that had survived everything imaginable wouldn't survive its encounter with humans. The American alligator had it especially hard. It was exterminated so zealously that it found itself right on the edge of the abyss, one step away from complete disappearance. The one that survived the death of the dinosaurs nearly perished because of a fashion for pretty things. But it was precisely with this animal that one of the first loud victories of nature conservation began. People came to their senses in time, introduced bans, took the animals under protection, and the alligator began slowly, year by year, to come back to life. By 1987, its numbers had recovered enough that it was finally removed from the sad list of endangered species. A similar story unfolded in Australia, where the saltwater crocodile was placed under protection back in 1971, and it too managed to bounce back and reclaim its native shores. It would seem this is the happy ending, but the truth is that not all of them were saved, and this can't be passed over in silence. Among these animals, there's an amazing creature with a long, slender snout, the gharial, and it's still balancing on the very edge. By 2025, only about 681 adult individuals remained in all the wild. That's very few, so few that each individual animal is now worth its weight in gold. The Philippine, Siamese, and Cuban crocodiles have found themselves in a similarly desperate situation. All of them are critically endangered today, and their fate is still far from clear. And new threats, far more insidious, have already replaced the old ones. The shores where crocodiles have lived since time immemorial are being destroyed by humans. The water is becoming polluted, and there are fewer and fewer fish in it, which means it's getting harder and harder for the ancient hunter to feed itself. Many die tangled in fishing nets, or end up under the wheels on roads we've laid through their ancient paths. But the most terrible threat is invisible, and it's tied to the climate. Remember that miracle from the second part, where the sex of future hatchlings is set by the temperature of the sand in the nest? Now this miracle is turning into a trap. Because of warming, nests overheat, and the fragile equilibrium is disrupted. More and more hatchlings of one sex are being born, and the delicate balance of males and females, fine-tuned over millions of years, is shifting dangerously. And rising water more and more often floods the clutches, destroying future offspring before they're even born. What was its strength for centuries is now turning against it. And yet, before we close this story, we need to talk about what made it worth watching all the way to the end. About 3 scientific mysteries that make this creature even more astonishing than everything we've talked about so far. Mystery number 1. Scientists have discovered that the crocodile's genome, that is, the record of how its entire body is built, changes more slowly than that of perhaps any other vertebrate animal on this planet. It's as if frozen in time, and this remarkably matches the fact that the animal itself has barely changed for a full 230 million years. Nature once found the perfect solution and decided not to touch anything in it, ever again. Mystery number 2. After a hard fight, so much lactic acid accumulates in a crocodile's blood that any mammal, humans included, would simply die from it. It would be a lethal dose. But the crocodile calmly weathers this acidification, lies low for a while, and recovers as if nothing had happened. Hidden inside it is an endurance we couldn't even dream of. And mystery number 3, the eeriest and most human of them all. A crocodile can sleep with one eye open, and this is no scary fairy tale. While one half of its brain rests, the other half stays awake and watches everything around it. Birds and dolphins sleep the same way, the most intelligent creatures on Earth. And along with all of this, it carries in its head that very same mysterious map that once led it home across 400 kilometers of foreign water. It rests and stands guard at the same time. It sleeps and remembers the way home. And there's something in this that feels genuinely close and familiar to every one of us. And now, knowing all of this about it, let's go back to where we started. While the dinosaurs were dying out, it simply lay by the water. At the very beginning, that sounded like a mockery of a dull and primitive creature. But now you know what was really lying on that shore. Not a brainless heap of muscle and teeth. Lying on that shore was one of the most perfect creations of the living world, a devoted parent, a cunning hunter, an unseen savior of entire ecosystems, and the owner of a body honed to its absolute limit. And that raises a question that isn't so easy to answer. Which of us has really evolved in the right direction? Us, with all our fuss, our wars, our endless rushing, and our constant dissatisfaction, or it, which hundreds of millions of years ago found the perfect way to live and has barely changed a thing about it ever since? The most astonishing part is that today, it's us who come to it for answers. Scientists around the world are studying its genome, hoping to understand the secret of longevity. They're unraveling its incredible immunity, dreaming of helping sick people, and they're investigating its remarkable sleep. We, the pinnacle of progress, are quietly peeking at an ancient creature, hoping to learn at least something from it. And it, a peer of the dinosaurs and a contemporary of our smartphones, still lies in the very same place it always has, right at the water's edge. It watches us through one half-open eye, in no hurry to go anywhere, and it surely knows something very important that we still haven't figured out. Thanks for subscribing and liking.